Today we're going to talk about outlines. Now, when I make my outline, I use my topic worksheet as my guide to help guide me along as I'm figuring out exactly what I want to pinpoint, what I want to remember in my speech. A lot of times I speak from an outline or I speak from note cards. When I'm making note cards, I use that outline itself to break down my note cards into more manageable parts of the speech. Let's look into how to make the outline. If you look at our examples that we have on screen, how to make beignets. So for the introduction, I've taken this whole segment from the attention getter all the way down to through the transition statement. All of that makes up my introduction. I've summarized it. It's not the same exact wording, but it still carries the same information. When you look at the body of the speech, I have my little transition statement there. Um, Beignets are a sweet pastry made by using yeast dough and giving that dough time to rise. And you'll need the following utensils. And I go into everything that I have written here in the body of my speech, from the ingredients and the tools that I'm going to need to be all the steps all the way down. Okay. To the very last one. And if you see here, I still have transition statements that I'm using. Sometimes it's a good idea to write your transition statements out. That way it helps you remember what your trigger words are. Okay. Let's look down into our conclusion. Once again, this is 10 to 15% of your time, same as the introduction. That leaves the body of your speech to carry the majority of your time. You want to include a transition statement such as today I've shown you step by step how to make the most famous New Orleans beignets. And I covered my steps in the summary, and I left you with a call to action. Whether you make my recipe or buy the Cafe du Monde beignet box mix from the grocery store, use this little square donut to make memories. That's my call to action. Also, don't forget to thank your listeners for listening to you. But also don't forget to put your sources at the bottom of your outline. Let's look into our class and I'll show you some example outlines that we have. The first one is an informative over the history of the hot dog. You see here, it's pretty basic. It has the introduction, the body of the speech, and then it ends with a conclusion and has the sources. Good morning and today. You're using present and future tense in the introduction, and in the conclusion, you're using present and past tense as far as grammar goes. Let's look on into the second one. How to set goals. This one is very basically. This is very basic. I think this was a 3-minute speech. Um, it wasn't very long at all. I didn't write out the introduction because I pretty much memorized what I wanted to say in the intro, and then I left my trigger words. I had everything on a separate index card. That way I could remember and expound upon them. Okay, and still I have my references and my sources. Finally, we get to persuasion. Why you should buy a fake Christmas tree rather than a real one. I have my introduction, I have my points to cover in my introduction, and then I have the body of my speech. And in my conclusion, I have the points that I'm going to make in my conclusion, and I have my sources written. So this is pretty much how you write outlines. If you've taken Comp 1 or Comp 2, it's pretty much an English aspect in speech making. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Like I said, this is how to make outlines. You have samples, and I'll have samples in the modules for you. Thank you.